Welcome to I Am an Open Door, courtesy of Cindy Krupp, who is the originator of this space and is the major holder of this space, although we all hold it with her. I want to give a shout out to Cindy and a thank you for allowing us the opportunity to gather here together and to raise all of our consciousness and vibration and our heart song, to sing our heart song together. We are here on Tuesday, December 10th, and this is Training Wheels. And we are on lesson 13. Training Wheels is a book I wrote in 2019 to really review the lessons of A Course in Miracles from my perspective at the time. And as we review this 2019 book in these classes, we're all bringing the new information that we have to these classes. So we're reinterpreting what I reinterpreted in a new and different way. And whether you're watching this later or listening to it later or here now, all comments and thoughts are welcome. So take your seat and you can turn your camera off. I'm going to turn my camera off so that we can just listen together and be together. I usually begin by reading all the lessons first. Cindy kind of taught me the value of doing that. So that's how we'll begin this. This is lesson 13. A meaningless world engenders fear. A meaningless world engenders fear. Nothing I see means anything. I have given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. I do not understand anything I see. These thoughts do not mean anything. I am never upset for the reason I think. I'm upset because I see something that's not there. I see only the past. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see nothing as it is now. My thoughts do not mean anything. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world, and a meaningless world engenders fear. Basic physics tells us nature abhors a vacuum. In the last 2 days, or the last 2 weeks, our lessons have spoken of meaningless thoughts and a meaningless world. To think of a meaningless world creates a vacuum of its own kind. It leaves an empty space within. Only 2 things can fill this empty space: the love of source or the anxiety of the personal mind, also called the ego. A meaningless world engenders fear. What gives meaning to your world? For most people, it is whatever the personal mind gives value. Indeed, the values of the personal mind are the foundation of this world. To let go of the values of the personal mind, we have to see that they are meaningless. We must also face the fear that arises when we let go of a comfortable thought system. Is this world truly meaningless? No, it most certainly is not. But its meaning is not what the personal mind would have us believe. The values of the personal mind are upside down. This is a completely accurate statement. The ego has made a dream world based on separate bodies, separate needs, separate thoughts, separate moments in time, separate places, separate species, separate body parts, separate bodies. And this whole thought system has created a hierarchy of order in which some deserve abundance while others do not. The ego has dreamed a world in which it is possible to take without giving back. It is possible to harm another and walk away unscathed. It is possible to build a business that never gives the customer what they paid for. It is possible to create a political party that rewards itself and cares not a whit for how it got into power. It is possible to throw away the beauty of this world and not be affected by it. The ego sees separation from each other and from source, which is oneness itself, as reality. It is not. In today's practice sessions, and there should be 3 if you can do that, they should be quiet, still moments in time where you just take a seat and close your eyes and where you relax. And then with your eyes closed, you say in your mind, a meaningless world engenders fear. And then you gently open your eyes and you look around without focusing on anything in particular. And you just say in your mind, I am looking at a meaningless world. And then you end the practice by closing your eyes again and saying to yourself, a meaningless world engenders fear because I think I am in competition with God. A meaningless world engenders fear because I think I am in competition with all that is. You may find this last sentence challenging. Maybe you think you don't find it challenging. Maybe you think you've accepted it. But ask yourself when you have difficult moments, whether it's not true for you then. Oh, I'm not in competition with God, you might say. I love God. I love all that is. But consider this. If God is changeless and all-knowing oneness, then why do we consistently question and resist what has been placed in front of us? My neighbor is a fool. I have to work on a project I don't like working on. These people aren't being honest. My sister is jealous of me. These politicians are idiots. These foreigners shouldn't be here. There shouldn't be hunger in this world. If you're in disagreement about an aspect of your life or reality, you are in competition with what is, and see yourself separate from it. Why do we see ourselves separate from all that is, from reality with a big R? Why do we not treat our neighbors as ourselves? Why do we value things that are valueless? Why do we seek meaning in things that are meaningless and then wonder why we live in fear? We're asked not to overthink this lesson, but just practice it and see what arises for you. It might be helpful to consider this quote by Dr. David Hawkins. Hawkins says, "In a completely integrated universe on all levels, nothing accidental is possible. In a completely integrated universe, or we could say reality, on all levels, nothing accidental is possible." If source is everything, then it follows logically that nothing can be outside it. If nothing is outside source, nothing cannot have any meaning. Put another way, everything has meaning without exception. Everything has meaning without exception. A Course in Miracles tells us that immortality is a constant state. It says this is true now as it ever was or will be, because it implies no change at all. It is not a continuum, and it is not understood by comparing it with an opposite. Knowledge never involves comparison. The mind has difficulty grasping this truth. Meaning for the egoic mind must involve comparison. So when we consider the thought system of the egoic mind, we must say it has no meaning, for its whole meaning lies solely in comparison. And yet there is meaning in all that is, Atma, Brahman, Source. But what could that meaning be? Is there some way to understand it all? Perhaps the closest we can come at this level of understanding lies in the attributes of Source, all that is, reality, God. An attribute is an inherent quality. It's an inherent property or characteristic. And of Source, we could say that its inherent characteristics are beauty, truth, and love. Oneness is immaculate and self-luminous. The I am is self-luminous, so beauty is self-luminous. Truth is self-luminous, and love is self-luminous. They are meaningful in themselves because all that is these qualities. Who can say love has no meaning? Who could say beauty has no meaning? Who could say truth has no meaning? They are of themselves meaningful. Beauty is known as it is without comparison. Truth is known as it is without comparison. Love encompasses everything, and everything cannot be compared to anything. In a completely integrated universe, or God's being on all levels, nothing accidental is possible. In a completely integrated whole, all things are holiness, and holiness is its own meaning. And this meaning encompasses and surpasses all possible separated meanings. Holiness is its own meaning, and this meaning encompasses and surpasses all possible separate meanings. There is either no meaning at all, or everything is meaningful. No exceptions. A meaningless world engenders fear. A meaningless world engenders fear. There is either no meaning at all, or everything is meaningful. No exceptions. What does this mean for you? When you're ready, come back into yourself, wherever you are. Take a few deep breaths. Know you're welcome. And let's talk about this. I had this discussion with my husband last night. It was really fortuitous. He said, "I don't know what meaning means." I almost wonder if we could start there. I don't know what meaning means. Is it true for you that a meaningless world engenders fear? Are you ever afraid? Yeah. Michelle, come to the head of the table.
Hi, Amy. Thank you.
Well,
Good morning, and thank you for this. Yes, I really appreciate your um, when you talk about the meaningless and then and then you flip the coin, you turn it upside down to everything has meaning. It really helped me when you emphasized that everything is holy. There's holiness in everything. Um, with this lesson, um, I feel it's very true for me. And then I kind of go down, I don't know if it's a rabbit hole, but then I go back to these thoughts do not mean anything, or my thoughts do not mean anything. And I still push back on the I love you. I'm like, well, there's a lot of meaning and there's a lot of meaning and I love you and thank you. Um, but then I think this is why I really love um, some people's near-death experience stories, because I truly feel viscerally that I cannot grasp the when I say I love you, I don't even know. I don't even know what that means, and so I give that to spirit, because I can't put that in a box, and I do put it in a box. I know I do. So back to your beautiful meditation, um, it really helps me to look at specifics or in general as I go through this journey, and look at things with holiness lenses, because there's so much mystery in that, and it helps me to give it over to spirit, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Amy.
I really appreciate it. It is hard, I think, for the mind. This is why we, in these non-dual teachings that we all love so much, but also in A Course, which is largely non-dual, if you really read it. It is impossible for the mind, the personal mind, to grasp unconditional love. This love that, Michelle, I totally share with you the enthusiasm for the description of people's experiences who have died and come back to share what they encounter, because their honesty, the truth that they describe is itself luminous. It is a luminous truth that they speak, and it's always the same, that it is a love that is beyond anything that they have experienced as a human body, as a human being, as a personal mind. One of the near-death experiences that I just looked at said that the purpose of being here is to be your authentic self. And love is being your authentic self. We could say more about that later, but Rana, why don't you come to the head of the table? Thank you.
I will come right to the head of the table. Thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to maybe teach myself, because I really feel like there was an opening today, because the sentence, I am in competition with God, has never landed. And the way that your writing and described it was an opening for me. So what I'm feeling is that everything has meaning, but ego has just given it the wrong meaning. ego involves the comparison and the separation and the labeling and making that different and a better than and a less than and a right and a wrong. So that meaning is the meaning I'm to notice and drop, because awareness is curative. So as I notice that more and more, the phrase in competition with God speaks that I'm just not accepting what is as the way it is. Maybe the neighbor is picking her nose, but do I have to have a commentary about that? Do I have to listen and then act or follow or allow feelings to, because you said, look at the feeling behind it, right? And so I'm really noticing that sense of when criticism and judgment of another or self comes up, the only thing I can say is it feels icky. It does not feel peaceful. If I really sink in and feel what that thought is bringing up, it's like, oh, and then it's like, I don't want to think that way. So the process of noticing the ego's meaningless thoughts is been helpful. And so there's an understanding about the seeing myself as separate. And from that separation, that's what veils this beauty and truth and love in any given situation. Looking at a pile of garbage on the side of the road can be a beauty experience. It can be a truth experience because it is what is, if that's the experience that's happening. So I loved what you said at the end. The real meaning is beyond, and Cindy and I were sort of talking about this yesterday, beyond, outside of the separate meanings, the thinking mind. It's beyond that. And this pause and this noticing and that stillness is what allows the shift in perception, the miracle in the moment. And I just have a sense that this is going to keep doing its thing, but it becomes more humorous as I look at it closer. Everything has meaning, everything has meaning. There are no exceptions. There just may be a misperception of meaning from this limited point of view, this finite point of view. So what I'm hearing you ask me is to look beyond that, see what's happening, hear the judgment, and look beyond. And so I very much appreciate that. And the more that I will accept what is, the competition will go away, the comparison. So, not that anything needs to go away, right? But I do not desire to be in competition with God. There is a desire to see as God here. So thank you. Thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Rana. As always, you really explain things so well. You take your personal experience and then turn it into a lesson for all of us, which is really so beautiful. David, come to the head of the table.
Well, the first thing that I thought before I guess maybe before we start talking about it, is I didn't trust God. I don't know if trust God now or not, but I didn't. I know for sure that I didn't, because I felt like God had abandoned me. God didn't even know I was part of that I was. I mean, I was just out there talking about feeling separated from God. It's almost like I felt God just threw me away. And so so then I created, I guess, or made, this is how my life should be based on that premise. And so then, what I heard about God was, well, that he didn't agree with anything that I thought, and so I was angry because, you didn't tell me anything, God, and I made up my own stuff, and you don't even like that either. And so that was it. That was kind of how I lived my life. I'm getting over that now, but every once in a while I think, hey, God, what's up with that? So and then the other thing I want to talk about is, you said your husband asked what is meaning, and I was thinking about that. So I guess meaning is just a word, but to me it's the meaning of everything is just so deep for me. I To define. I can't. There are no words in my vocabulary that can define what meaning is. But I'm like the person who doesn't know art, but knows what he likes. I I when something has meaning, I know it, even though I can't verbalize what it is. I know that it has meaning. I know that it is. I know it's real. And so that it's so I'm gonna go with that, because I don't have to have a definition of meaning. All I have to do is know it and appreciate it and look forward to it, and try to get my life to become part of more, to be aware that I have meaning too. And so I'm going to go with that. So that's all I have to say about that today.
Thank you. You can have more to say too. We have time.
Okay. Well, if something new comes up, I'll start talking again.
Okay, David, thank you. I want to try to describe something that is difficult for me to describe because, words are just pointers, as we all know. But I begin with the understanding that I am the infinite self. I am infinite. I am eternal. As an infinite, eternal being, everything that I experience is, to use a phrase, grist for the mill. Everything that I experience is more experience, and all that is loves its experience. And I am an aspect. I am not even an aspect. That's not the right word. I am all that is in this moment of awareness now, having an experience that contributes to the infinite experience of all that is. And that's my meaning. It's not a meaning that I give to it as a personal mind. The willingness to have the experience is truth itself. The willingness to have the experience as this seemingly separate aspect of infinite awareness is beautiful. It is beauty defined. Faith is beautiful. The only thing for me at this time that uncomfortable feelings, which arise all the time, they are pointers only to the opening of awareness that I must feel separate from something right now, and an invitation to explore what that is. And then to accept and be grateful for those feelings of discomfort because they're my teachers. So they have meaning. Feelings of discomfort are meaningful because they point me to remember what I am. Not to get rid of the uncomfortable feelings, but to accept them because they're little energy packets that are full of information. Right? So take the information from it, taste the feeling, love the feeling, not because you love being in discomfort, but because it's information that's pointing you back or pointing you deeper toward the truth. That's where we can say it is all meaning. You know, there's a part that we're going to read.
Before you move on, can I add something to that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Absolutely.
that's okay. I just don't want to drop this train
Okay.
because it's just so beautiful, so delicious the way you just described it. You know, let's play. What if everything was different from unconditional love? Right? It's the experience of that. Let's play that game. Let's see what that's like. These feelings are the experience of what it's like to be from that. And we get this whole spectrum of stuff, which of course we've labeled good, bad, or indifferent, but that's, you know, the ego thing going on. But we get to experience all of what it's like not to remember unconditional love. And then when we find out the truth, we get to have these experiences and then go beyond them, surrender to them, go beyond them back to what I am. And, you know, and just be like, oh, I got to taste that, Amy. Right? There's the joy because somewhere there's a feeling that without this avatar, without this dream, like consciousness can't experience this stuff. This is the vehicle to it. It's part of the game, you know? And so you just got me all jazzed up. I'm just feeling really like my vibration went way through the roof there for a moment. You know, it's just like, yeah, play it to its fullest. Feel as sad as you can feel as joyful as you can feel, you know, and just experience it because experiences seem to have a beginning, a middle, and an end in this time space reality. And so none of it lasts forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The only constant is unchangeable, right? Right? And all arises in the unchangeable constant. You know? And just as you said so beautifully, Rana, it is really an amazing experience. I think for some of us, some of it arises when we deal with another seemingly separate person who we seem to be in conflict with, and they're in the dream and they think they're in conflict with us and they're not going to give that up. So it's apparently up to us to recognize, oh, this is the dream. And then the challenge is, how do I be true to myself when I'm dealing with a dream figure that's not awake? You know, it's
Cindy
all,
reminded me one time, there's no use in one ego fighting with another ego.
no.
So helpful, so helpful.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Kendall says the riverbed holds all the flow. Exactly. That's exactly it. So meaning is, and Michelle says, that's pretty cool, Rana. A game of sorts, keeping it playful, especially when playing with a seemingly separate person. Yeah. Yeah. I have to go to a meeting tonight that I'm dreading. I'm dreading going to it because I'm going to have to tell people that I don't think they're being transparent. And the challenge for me, I get myself all worked up about this because in order to have the energy to confront these seemingly separate people and tell them that I think they're not being transparent, there's ego in that, and that's where the fear comes from. It's from, and so seeing that that's great. And the thing is to be able to see them sitting across the table also as God's being, right? And so to treat them exactly as I would want to be treated myself, which is only another learning opportunity for this awareness. It's easy to sit in these meetings as in this quiet where we all agree and we have all raised our level of frequency together and to know these truths. But to sit with a group of people who don't feel that way and still hold the frequency, that's the next level of training in a certain sense, isn't it? And that's where I would suggest, without knowing, I don't know mind of God, but my, to use Cindy's phrase, my download is inspiring me to say, I believe that's where we are all headed because we are embodying these truths together. And we will be given the opportunity to embody them in places where the frequency isn't quite as high. No judgment about that. Just that will be perhaps our next level of training. Livy, come to the head of the table. Thank you for raising your hand.
Hi, everybody. Really, really grateful to be with y'all this morning. And boy, it is not timely. It's very timely.
You're a little muffled.
Oh, hang on.
Okay, is that better?
That's better.
Okay, all right. So I had my work situation has been challenging, and I have seen the gifts in it as far as I get to practice so much of this stuff. Some days I do it great, and some days the ego wants to be right. And what's happened more recently was Friday. There was a disturbing incident. I'm judging it as disturbing. I was shaking uncontrollably. I was so full of anger and just so much emotion. And I came home immediately and called Rana, and she helped me sit with it. And it was beautiful, her guidance through it. And so I gave my 2 weeks notice last night. One of the gifts that having this particular workplace situation over the past little over a year has helped me help me see the worth that I am, because of the truth of what I am. And this energy that I have been surrounded with has not been the healthiest. And so I gave my 2 weeks notice last night, and I'm just, December 24th, Christmas Eve will be my last day. And I feel nothing. I feel, I'll be going in there today, and I want to walk in with love and with understanding. And I'm very, very, that's new for me. That's very, very new. The ego wants to think up something or what to say, and there's nothing to say. There's only just love to bring and have a clearer understanding and forgiveness. I'm so grateful for the stress on forgiveness in the Course in Miracles for myself and for others, and to see them as extensions of me. And that can be very difficult some days. And I'm grateful that my muscles get to work on those days of the new belief in the oneness. And I sure don't do it perfectly. And I'm just grateful that today I have I only feel love for these people. And I'm just really grateful today that I can go in and there doesn't have to be any awkwardness or residuals that I would bring in. It's just being where I am right now and knowing what I am and what they are. And just really going to the Holy Spirit a lot. So this is very, very timely, this discussion, and I just appreciate the input and the guidance so very, very much. And I feel like an opening in giving the notice, I feel like there's been an opening for whatever that next adventure is going to be. I just feel like there's been a real opening to like, ooh, okay, now we're through with that. You know your worth. Let's move on and see what the oneness has in store for me. And just Rhonda said, just surrender everything. And I've just been surrendering everything. And so I'm just looking forward to seeing what the next adventure is going to be. Yes, wonder. And to definitely have an opportunity to spend more time with y'all in the meantime, I'm really looking forward to. So anyway, thank you so much for this discussion and for each of you. And I just am so full of gratitude and love. Thank you so, so much. Mwah.
Oh, thank you, Livy. That was really lovely for many, many reasons. I know you're having Rana in your life as someone to speak to is invaluable. And both Rana and Cindy, who make this space what it is in their own unique ways, really allow us to bring to practice and share what our living these teachings means to us. So that's a meaning right there. That's the truth, right? This isn't a place for us to come and do psychotherapy or anything like that. That's not what this is all about. It's a place, as Livy just showed us, where you can bring the teachings in to teach others in the way that you're using the teachings in your life. And that has meaning because you're using the truth in your life and sharing the truth and the way that that truth guides you through this play. Bravo.
Oh, I like the play reference.
So I want to say thank you to Cindy, who's not sitting in her seat, for bringing this space to us. Who else wants to share about what meaning means to them? And Livy, we look forward to seeing you more. What does meaning mean for you? Richard, I knew you'd raise your hand. Come to the table.
Morning, everyone. Great to be here. Great shares as always. Meaning for me is the illusory. Meaning is not a duality. Because only the finite mind has to give anything meaning. To me, in reality, there just is. There's no meaning, there just isn't. There's no meaning there. And what I like about meaning is what I've learned or reacquainted myself with recently with Keith Kavanaugh was the last split the mind makes is the mind has accepted the ego thought system rather than the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit's kind of been put back on the shelf. And so the ego goes forward, and now the ego mind is full of fear, guilt, and fear, of sin, guilt, and fear. So I think the Course calls out the unholy trinity, sin, guilt, and fear. And so the mind doesn't want to be full of sin, guilt, and fear, so it wants to be innocent. So it decides to make more and more split of the mind. The innocent victim and the sin, guilt, and fear is projected out, and that forms the world. So the world is full of sin, guilt, and fear. And that's what we seem to experience until we realize that we're not the ego self that we made. So, from that point of view, playing the victim and victimizer role within the dream, we assign meaning to everything. It's good or bad. In the finite world, everything has an opposite. So, and the finite mind cannot understand infinity. So, because if the infinite mind understood finite, then it would become finite. And if the finite mind knew infinity, it would become infinite. So the two can never come together. So what I like about the idea of the victim and victimizer in the mind of the ego self is that when you rise above the battleground and you re-identify with the Holy Spirit or the truth of what you really are, then you repurpose the dream. In other words, when you come to this realization, you can have a new meaning for whatever you're experiencing within the dream. Now, before I get into this a little, like I said, I brought up a lot of stuff, what you all said this morning. So, first of all, when you observe the dream from that place outside of the dream, above the battleground, you observe everything in the dream as non-judgmental awareness. In other words, you don't judge it as good or bad, it just is. So the minute you judge anything in the dream, you're back in the wrong mind. You're back in the ego mind. So everything just is what it is. Everything's perfect the way it is. It's only when you give it meaning that you decide to judge whether it's this or that or good or bad or whatever. So that's what causes all the mental conflicts, all of the suffering, because you put labels on things. What does the Course say? Words are but symbols, twice removed from reality. So anytime you use a word, like when we talk to each other, it's all garbage. I mean, there just isn't, So, but we enjoy this banner and we enjoy this exercise of the mind, which we know doesn't exist, but we still play with it like old it's all one big game. Why do you want to enjoy it? Why let it get you down? You're infinite love, you're infinite joy, you're infinite happiness. Let that manifest in your life rather than, oh, it shouldn't be this way, should be that way, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I take after many years of studying the course, when I first did this lesson, I did not see it this way. But I'm continue to evolve in my evolution here as a separate self, experiencing, or as what we said last week, no thing, experiencing everything. So at least that's what I took away from the meeting when Amy was talking about no thing being reality. And we're experiencing everything, including what is not real. So I love you all. And with that, I'll pass.
Wow. Thank you, Richard. You just brought us full circle. I love it. Thank you so much for that summary. It was eloquent and to the point. I just have one note to add to what Richard said, not because he left anything out, but because I'm moved to do this. When we experience ourselves as everything within our kingdom, as Paul Selig says, everything within our purview, everything that rises up in our experience, there can be a feeling of dryness or boredom that arises. And I just want to point that out. Atmananda talks about that, about this feeling. I've experienced this feeling too. And Atmananda's suggestion, if you have that experience, is to just take another step back and realize that what one is the awareness that there is boredom or dryness arising. What Tony Parsons suggests, which I think is also really good, is to realize that when we are everything, everything is arising within this consciousness, this awareness that is our true self. It's really rich. You know, it is a tapestry that has colors and textures and rhythms that we can't even imagine. And so I just wanted to add that little footnote about dryness and boredom for us today. Barbara, did you have something you wanted to share? Okay. We have 2 minutes. Come to the head of the table.
Thank you. I needed to hear that because lately I've been bored as hell. I mean, I used to laugh at jokes. I don't laugh at jokes. Nothing seems funny. I mean, that's what I needed to hear. I am so bored out of my life, but I do listen to God and He directs me in the path I choose. Just like yesterday, I did the video for Thursday, and that went along with the lesson of today. And Jonathan, your lesson is the law of love. I mean, everything is sinking in. I get that, and I'm doing it my part, but I am so damn bored at times. But thank you for telling me I'm okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. I don't know why I was moved to say that, but it does help one to rise above the battleground, as Richard said, when we realize that the boredom is just what is arising in awareness now. And we may realize it and it may dissipate, but then it comes back and it dissipates and then it comes back. And then we think, I'm going to live in this boredom forever. It just means that we're riding a wave of boredom, and that's what's happening now, right? It's 10:59. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thanks, Cindy, you got all this congratulations, but you'd gone outside. So you'll have to listen to the replay, sweetheart.
I'm gonna tell the story at the 12-stepping meeting. But I'm grateful for hand up and down. I decided it didn't need to be recorded. So we're going to take a nice long walk and remember how much God loves me. And this is all for me. And Richard's telling me I get to laugh about this stuff now. And then I'll come back and tell the story in an hour.
All right. Okay. Well, enjoy. I have to go to a doctor's appointment, so you won't see me, but I love us all. And thank you for being here. I'll see you same time next week, if not before.